We're live. That's right. Hi, I'm Doc Martin from KRAZ TV here at the Zero Channel, the adult side of KRAZTV.com. Well, here's why we're an adult side. It's Bourbon Empires, the past and future of America's whiskey. What a grand little book. Very informative. Reid Mitenbuler. We got this book at the Tucson, Pima County Library. Now, this is his first book, but he has written for Whiskey Advocate. Sometimes they drop the E, but it's all the same. And it's an American drink. It started long before the American Revolution, and of course, Washington had his own still. I found out in this book that they actually went back to Mount Vernon and refurbished and remade the whiskey. Still there, so that's pretty amazing. It's got to be made from so much corn. Can only be made. All 50 states can call it bourbon. It's usually aged. It's moonshine was the is the white stuff now, but it's a marketing ploy too. And we had our ups and downs with whiskey, and temperance got a hold of it and tore it up in the prohibition times. And it used to be everybody had a still back years ago, but uh, as far as a modern industry now, mostly Suntory and all those big ones have taken over, and the brands have changed. And it's a lot about marketing. But it's a great book. We got this at the Tucson Pima County Public Library here in Tucson, Arizona. It has a few plates in there from the early days, and some of the old grizzled pioneers and makers of the thing. And of course, it didn't do the American Indian any. Of course, they were used as in the early days as marketing ploys and whatever. But it's a well definitive book. It doesn't take a lot to go through, and well, you learn a lot about whiskey, and it's mostly about whiskey. They talk a little bit about being usurped by vodka in the later years and all that, but it doesn't have anything else really about any other alcoholic beverages or drinks. So it's just Kentucky is probably the number one. Tennessee, Jack Daniels says we don't call ours bourbon, we call it Tennessee whiskey. So they're kind of like left out, and yet they're probably one of the largest brands. And I've been near there in Lynchburg, Tennessee. It's a wonderful story. They use the white oak because it's a dense and it can go in and doesn't allow a lot of evaporation in the barrels. And then you have to pull the vanillins and other phenols out of the wood, and that's what makes its color. And well, it takes the fire bite out of it a little bit, and it mellows it and all of that over there. Maybe a little bit of history about how certain drinks were made, but it's mostly about evolution of stills. It went from pot stills and alembics to column and fractional tall stills and continuous runs and stuff like that. But it's pretty much the same way. Then, of course, whether you ferment the mash versus uh, leaving it wet, leaving it dry, a sweet mash. It's just a fascinating little book. It's if you like to learn about history of well, what happened in America, bourbon and well, whiskey. We want to call it whiskey because before bourbon, it was and always had been whiskey. A lot of Scottish and Irish people made it, and well, came from Appalachia a lot. But all 50 states, like we said, can call their product. And in Arizona here, we do have some few stills, and they make some great ones too. So I got friends here in Arizona that make the still beverages also down in Sonoyta wine country. So we want to thank you for reading and watching. So get this book like we did at the library. If you can, please support us over at KRAZTV.com and keep reading, okay? Bourbon Empire. Thank you. Reid Mitenbuler, Zero Channel.